Hi everybody, and thank you for joining me today for some virtual vitamin Z as we bring the Detroit Zoo to you. My name is Claire and I'm a curator of education with the Detroit Zoological Society, where we are celebrating and saving wildlife. And you may have noticed that I'm not in my usual remote work location. I have decided to venture out into a local neighborhood to show you some actual size animal footprints and their stride, which is how far they walk in between each footstep. All right, so let's get started with some human footprints to give you a little bit of context and talk to you a little bit about what steps and stride actually mean. So to do that, I'm going to flip around my screen and we're going to look right down here at the start of the sidewalk. I did find where the sidewalk ended, or maybe started, and I measured out my footprints. So you can see left, right, left. And from left to right is one step. And from the bottom of my left heel to the bottom of my left heel again, that's what's considered a stride for someone who has two legs. So if you're talking about animals with four legs, it gets a little bit more complicated. So let's actually jump into our very first one. And I'm going to give you a couple clues about each of these footprints as we come up to them. And if you'd like to guess along as to what animal we're talking about or which animal belongs to the footprint, I'd love for you to throw your comments in on the comment box. All right. So, and one more point of reference that I want to provide. These brand new sidewalk blocks are about 6 foot by 6 foot to give you a little bit of context as to how large they are. Okay, we're coming up on our first footprint. This one's a big one. It's about 12 inches across, about the size of a dinner plate. If you can guess, which animal do you think would create a footprint quite that big? This animal actually moves both left feet together and then right feet together when they're walking, which is a little bit unusual. But when they start to run, they'll do front feet, front feet, back feet. And they're actually a lot of fun to watch to run around. All right, so if you guess, well, actually, let's move along. We've got footprint left, right, left, right. This animal has the largest stride of any animal when they're walking, because this is the giraffe. Now, giraffe legs are about 6 feet long. So if I was standing next to a giraffe right now, their legs would actually be taller than I am, which is pretty impressive. So that is an animal's stride. And I will tell you, it was really difficult to find information about the giraffe footprints. We know a lot about animals that live in our care. We know a lot about animals that we share neighborhoods and spaces with, but there's other animals that we don't have that much information about. And it was really interesting as I was going through and finding all this information for you as to which animals we had a lot and which ones we didn't. All right, so let's move on from the giraffes. And our next set are these purple ones up here. And any guesses as to who belongs to these purple footprints? They're, the back foot is about 5 inches long, and that's the big one that you see. And then their front foot is that smaller foot, and they do that left-right pattern. And their whole stride from back to front is about a meter. So they stretch out a little bit. And this animal is really easy to find information about because a lot of people have seen their tracks. And it's actually an animal that you might find here in Michigan, not down near the Detroit Zoo, but in other spots. So if you guessed a black bear, you're right. So we had a whole bunch of information to share about these ones and a whole bunch of tracks, a lot of good prints in the snow. All right, are we ready for our next one? Let's go up to our next sidewalk block and see who we have. All right, these ones are a little bit hot pink. They're also about 5 inches long, so pretty similar to the black bears. And their stride from that back heel to that front of the next back heel is about 55 inches. And you can see they walk in that pattern where their feet are kind of close together. This one, again, was really easy to find a lot of information about and be able to find their stride and their foot size and what the pattern looked like, because this is an animal that, again, we can find in a lot of spaces that people share. So these tracks belong to a gray wolf. Okay. Ready for the next one? Here we go. Holy cannoli! What on earth would have a footprint that took up the entire sidewalk block? Something's afoot here. See what I did there? I was looking through these footprints and I came across this one and I just had to share it because it did take up almost the entire sidewalk block. So this is an animal that no longer lives on Earth. This actually belongs to a dinosaur. And if you guessed Triceratops, you're right. So we know a lot about animals that used to share the earth and live on the earth because they've left behind fossils and footprints and bones and things like that. And this was a really cool find that someone found a Triceratops footprint, was able to measure it out, and you can tell a little bit more about the animals that we don't have access to anymore. So that was really fun. Okay, here we go. Next one. This one's a big one. This is the biggest footprint that I have to share with you of animals that are still living today. Check these ones out. So these are both back feet of this animal, and they're 18 inches long, and this animal jumps really long distances. So I'm wondering if anybody has a guess as to which animal this one belongs to. This was neat because there was a bunch of different species of this animal, so I was able to pick out the one that actually lives at the Detroit Zoo and share that one with all of you. So let's jump as long as this animal can jump. So if each sidewalk block is 6 foot long, this animal can jump 30 feet. So we're going to count up 5 sidewalk blocks. Are you ready? Let's count with me and see if we can find what type of animal this is on the way. Here's 1 block. Here's 2 blocks. It's a kangaroo. Here's 3 blocks, 4 blocks, 5 blocks, and this is where that kangaroo would land. 30 feet, that's so impressive. Okay, let's go up and let's do a reptile next. I've already given you a little bit of a clue. So here's some footprints. These are a little bit harder to see, so I tried to outline them for you. Left, right, back and forth. Those back feet are about 8 inches long and the front feet are about 4 inches long. And actually, if you came across these footprints like in a muddy bank or something like that, you'd see a tail mark dragging down in between the footprints because this animal's really low to the ground. They have short legs and they drag that tail behind them when they walk. So this animal, if anybody has guessed alligator, you're correct. These are alligator footprints, back and forth, those footprints alternating, as you can see here. All right, I've got one more for you. Are you ready? This one was kind of hard to draw footprints for, so I drew you the whole animal. This is a bullfrog, 8 inches from the tip of the nose to the back of their rump, and they can jump pretty good distances too. Typically when they jump, it's about 1 meter, which is about 3 feet, so there's our first jump right there. But if they need to, they can jump 2 meters. So that would be about my whole sidewalk block. So bounce, bounce, there goes my bullfrog. And bullfrogs are one of my favorites. Okay, so I wanted to show you one more thing and sneak a little bit more math in there when you're not looking and compare the sizes of all these different footprints that we looked at today. So I lined them all up here. I'm going to start with my footprint right there on the left. And then we're going to move into that giraffe footprint that was about the size of that dinner plate. And next we had our black bear with those 5 toes, that purple one. And next to the black bear is the wolf, the gray wolf, which is that hot pink. They're about the same size. Then we have that monstrous kangaroo footprint with those giant jumps that they take, followed by our alligator, and I just gave you the 8-inch one on the back, and then our little tiny bullfrog prints. All right, so conservationists use footprints for a lot of things. We use them to tell where animals are living in the wild, so we can watch them in the wild and study them and see what their population sizes are. Footprints are one of the first things that we look for when we're out there looking for animals. We also look for scat, which is their poop, but footprints tell us a lot. They can tell us how big the animal is, what direction they're moving, how many are moving together, so if they travel in groups or if they travel solo. They can actually tell us if the animal's injured, if there's a different undone pattern that's a little off. We can tell a lot about those patterns and learn a lot about the animal. So it's something that a lot of researchers study and they use quite a bit. And it's actually something neat that zoos, accredited zoos can help with. If we know the different gaits of animals or how they move and how their legs move, we can share that with conservationists working in the field too. So they can study more about the animals and share that information between the two entities. All right, so thanks for joining me this morning as I finally came out and got some sun and got out of that remote work location. If you haven't started designing your parachute yet for the design challenge on Monday to help the conservation team down in the Falkland Islands, there's still time. I'll be sharing those out on Friday morning. And for a little bit more virtual vitamin Z today, you can join my colleagues Sandy and Zara at 2 and 4 o'clock. Make sure you tune in and see what they have to share with you. So thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful day, stay safe, and take care of each other.